funny thing happened in January. I got very caught up in myself. It was very post-Kwanzaa, it was very beginning of the year, end of a decade, a lot of thinking, a lot of feeling, and I only read 2 books. So let me tell you what those 2 books are and what I thought of them. Hey everyone, it's really nice to see you here. I'm Jerry from ONYX Pages. Welcome to new folks, hi again to old folks, and let me tell you about what I read in January. I read 2 books. I read Talk Like a Man, which is a collection of short stories written by Nisi Shawl, and I also finished off Unraveling by Dr. Karen Lord. At some point in the futures, at some point in the Afro future, I will publish a book review of both of those books, but for now I'm just going to do a little chatty, tell you what I thought of the books, and let you know whether I recommend that you purchase them. So let's start with the easier one to talk about. So this is Nisi Shawl, Talk Like a Man. You should know that I love Nisi Shawl. I have to credit Nalo Hopkinson, who's my favorite author, for introducing me to Nisi Shawl's work. I was gently chided for not having read Nisi Shawl earlier than I have, but Nisi Shawl is incredible. Nisi Shawl uses they, them, they pronouns. Nisi is a writer of short stories and novels. They are also an editor of a number of works, like collections of short stories, including, I was going to say Stranger Things, that's not it, Strange Matings, which is an edited work dedicated to the life and writing of Octavia E. Butler, which I've talked about on this channel. Also, they edited New Sons, which is original works of speculative fiction by people of color. Also, they edited Stories for Chip, which is a collection of short stories dedicated to and inspired by Samuel R. Delany. So definitely there's so much richness in what Nisi Shawl does. Also, they've got a great website. They publish the most eloquent reviews of science fiction and fantasy books. They have a couple of lists for people who want to get into Black science fiction and fantasy. They have an ongoing list of all the Black science fiction and fantasy that's been written that you should be reading. So if you want to get into this genre and you want to make sure that you're reading as broadly and as deeply as you can, you should check out their recommended reads, and I will put a link to one of those lists in the description below. So I also love Nisi because they are smart and challenging. Oh, what I should also say, I can't believe I didn't mention this right off the bat. Nisi Shawl wrote a book with, there was a co-author as well, I believe, called Writing the Other. So not only does Nisi write, research, review, Nisi also teaches. And they teach writers to write from outside of their experience in a way that is respectful, in a way that is progressive, and in a way that is accurate. So along with Kay Tempest Bradford, who's also an amazing writer and a wonderful human, the 2 of them are the heads of the Writing the Other online school for writers, and they offer online courses on a regular basis to writers. So they're very affordable, and they do things like, how do you write blind characters, how do you write trans characters, how do you write characters who are deaf and hard of hearing, how do you write characters of color, how do you do character development, how do you get better with your descriptions. So wherever you are in your writing process, if you're a seasoned writer who wants to just be more careful about how you're rendering your worlds, or if you are a novice writer, you are allowed to sign up for their courses and to learn more about how to develop your craft in a way that is most empowering for yourself and also for the diverse body of readers that you want to attract. So I will leave a link to their courses on the in the description box below. So that is all and Nisi gives great hugs, so that's also a thing. Yay! Okay, so this is Talk Like a Man Plus, and this series is called the PM Press Outspoken Authors. It's the 24th edition of this series. I actually read one other of these, and it was the one from Nalo Hopkinson. So I think what this does is it gets a bunch of stories together, some reprints, some originals from certain authors who are unique, who have something very distinct and challenging to offer to the literature, and they produce these tiny little books that are easy to read and very interesting. I would recommend that you consider looking through all of the different authors that are featured in this series and see if there's one that you're interested in, because this is a really good way to get introduced to their work without having to commit a lot of your reading time to a 300 or 400 page novel or a huge collection of short stories. So just reading the back, Nisi Shawl's steampunk-flavored alternative history of the Belgian Congo ever fair has taken the science fiction and fantasy world by storm. No surprise there, and I agree. Their swift, sure, and savvy short stories had already established them as a cutting-edge Afrofuturist icon whose politically charged fiction is in the grand feminist tradition of Ursula Le Guin, Octavia Butler, and Susie McKee Carnes. In these previously uncollected stories, Shawl explores the unexpected possibilities and perils opened up by SFF's new intersectionality. In Shawl's side slippery world, sex can be both commerce and worship, complete with ancient rituals, altars, and ointments. A virtual reality high school is a proving ground for girl packs and their enhanced adversaries, and a British rock singer finds an image in a mirror that reflects both future hits and ancient horrors. Plus, a presentation at a southern university in which Shawl patiently and gleefully deconstructs the academic and arcane intersections between ancient rites and modern tech. Ifa, anyone? And it also features an interview with Shawl in which unapologetics are proffered, riddles are unraveled, and icons are always classed. And icons are, as always, classed. That's cool, like iconoclast. See what they did there? All right, so what did I think of this book? Overall, I loved this book. I really enjoyed the collection of short stories. I definitely annotated it, and I wanted to, and I'll say more when I actually get to the review. This is not a review, it's just like an overview of what I thought. I rated most of the stories 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. There was one story, the first story, that I found very confusing. And I'm noticing that I have a low tolerance for being confused. So in the first story, I was confused. And so I didn't rate it very high because I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, it was interesting and curious, but I was like, what? I don't get it. So that was a hard one. But all of the other ones I really enjoyed. And I want to talk about, not my favorite story, I'll talk about that in a second. But my second favorite story is called Women of the Doll. And it involves this, you don't really know exactly what she does until later on, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But it is a woman who travels with a doll and an altar, and she's in a hotel, and she encounters a man, and there's a transaction there. But the doll is a character, and the altar is there, and it's just really interesting to see. And I found, and I'm not sure if this was the thinking behind how these stories were collected and chosen for this collection, but almost all of the stories involve a woman main character, usually a black woman, and some echo of her, whether it is like an AI, whether it is a doll, whether it is a reflection in a mirror. There's just this mirroring kind of situation. Like, how do I deal with this strange thing that's happening, this other person that's an extension of me, an echo of me, a challenge for me? I just found myself wondering if that was a purposeful thread to link all of the stories together. So that was really cool. My actual favorite part of this book was not a fiction story. It was actually her speech. And here in this speech, she talks about the connection between an ancient African tradition, which is Ifa, coming from the Yoruba people in Nigeria, and science fiction. And she actually talks about the Orishas and about their connection with things like technology, and how the religion is a growing kind of religion that's responsive to all of the many ways that humans engage with each other and engage with information now. And she draws these links that I've actually never before heard, and I really love that, because one of the challenges I think for religious systems is staying current, and Nisi does such an amazing job of like bringing it all together, you know, bringing it together in a way that really works. So that's a really great, that was a really great part of the collection. Yeah, there's so many that I really enjoyed. An Awfully Big Adventure was a really short story that I think it's about death, and I'm finding that I'm enjoying reading stories about death and dying and the extension of life. So that was really short as well. I think it was actually less than 5 pages. So they have written some wonderful pieces in here. It's a very affordable collection, and I would recommend it to you. And just get to know Nisi, get to know their work, get to know their writing, get to know how they sound, and the books that they recommend, because if you want to make sure that you're reading the core of Afrofuturist work, you really can't do that without reading Nisi Shawl. And Nisi Shawl's writing is just so beautiful. I wish I had identified a couple of lines that I could read to you, but I just didn't, so I will not. But just beautiful writing, beautiful writing. So yes, that's Talk Like a Man. And then the other book that I read in January, that I finished in January because I started in December 2019, is Unraveling by Dr. Karen Lord. Dr. Karen Lord is also an incredible writer, and just the writing is so lyrical and poetic in many ways, in many places. So as you can see, there were a lot of annotations in this book, and I can't do it justice right now, but this is a novel. I will read, yes. Dr. Miranda Ekuvo, forensic therapist of the city, just helped put a serial killer behind bars, but she soon discovers that her investigation into several unusual murders is not yet complete. A near-death experience throws her out of time and into a realm of labyrinths and spirits. There she encounters brothers Chance and the Trickster, who have an otherworldly interest in the seemingly mundane crimes from her files. It appears the true mastermind behind the murders is still on the loose, chasing a myth to achieve immortality. Together, Miranda, Chance, and the Trickster must travel through conjured mazes, following threads of memory to locate the shadowy killer. As they journey deeper, they discover even more questions that will take pain and patience to answer. What is the price of power? Where is the path to redemption? And how can they stop the man or monster who would kill the innocent to live forever? Okay, so a couple of things I need to say about this book just to start. First of all, I think this is a book that is, remember what I said about I don't like being confused, and I have a low tolerance for confusion. So I discovered this while reading this book. This book helped me learn a thing about myself. So you'll notice that there's a labyrinth on the cover. There's a reason for this labyrinth, because this book is a labyrinth. It is not linear. It is not unidirectional. It is not written from one perspective. It is not even written it's a book that does it you read it through your experience of it. So it's not just a story, right? The story does things to you while you are reading it. So I think that if you're reading this book, you have to be ready to be taken by it. You have to surrender to the unraveling in order to fully appreciate it. And when I read reviews of this, people, like some people were like, oh my God, this is a masterful work of art, which it is. And then others were just like, I don't even know exactly what happened. It was really hard to get into and so on. I think there were a number of different stories in here, but what I would suggest to you, it's a standalone novel, but I think it would be wise to not start with this book if you haven't read any other Karen Lord. Read Redemption in Indigo, because that story is a bit of a prequel, kind of, to this one, or at least I felt that I benefited from reading Redemption in Indigo when I read this, because there are some characters that are the same. Some of the storylines extend from that to this one, and so it would be good to get to sort of read it. And it's one of those stories where at the last couple of chapters it all kind of comes together. So basically what happens in this book is exactly what the dust jacket says, right? You first follow this person named Miranda. She's a forensics investigator, and it starts off with this sort of like dark crime, rainy streets, who's the killer, let's find him. We've got all these like manila folders all over the place, right? But then whoop, she goes into this other world, and there are angels, and there are undying people, and then there are like human beings who commune with these undying individuals. Like there's so much here, and what I love about this, which is something that I also loved about Gods of Jade and Shadows, is that the story is told from above and from below, right? So it's told, and that's not even right, because it's not really linear, but you've got this mundane human world that is coexisting with this other like magical supernatural world. And unlike stories where you've got like a portal where you kind of have somebody that steps into another world and then steps from that world back into your world, this is not like that. It's really about like stitching open little moments in time, jumping back and forth. It's got characters who are conscious of the fact that they are existing in two separate places, two different times at once, and who have an understanding of this multi-layered sense of time at the same time, right? So the magical system that Dr. Lord creates in here is really, really amazing, multi-dimensional, multi-phases. The imagery is really awesome. The metaphors are really cool. I think the thing that I found challenging about reading this book was that I was confused sometimes in a way that left me feeling ungrounded, and I wasn't sure if the ground would appear under my feet again, and I wasn't sure whether I'd actually get lost in the plot or not. So when I scored it on Goodreads, I think I gave it either a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5, and it was because of that disorienting experience. But I have to say, that said, if you're ready to surrender, right? If you want something that pulls your brain apart and puts it back together in a different formation, you need to read Unraveling. And also, there's a lot of really powerful imagery. There's imagery from like biblical imagery. There's also like ancient African gods imagery coexisting, which is also really interesting connection. And then there's this sort of like love story that's happening as well. So it's a mystery, and I think I need to read it again, honestly. But I will say more in my 7 Calorie Shell review. But those are the 2 books that I read for January. And before I go, I want to show you my dream journal. I don't want to show you that. I do want to show you my reading journal. So this is the Owl Crate reading journal. It's called the Magical Monthly Reading Journal. And I bought it because Brittany at Melanin Eclectic did a... I need to get more memory cards, because what an ordeal this has been. All right. And it's amazing because I'm finished the video.
Yeah.
Right? All I need to do is tell you about this. Like how I did that? Okay. This is Magical Monthly Reading Planner by Owlcrate. And this isn't sponsored or anything like that. I just like it and I want to tell you about it because, you know, we're friends, we're family. So Brittany from Melanin Eclectic, who is awesome and brilliant and enterprising and funny, and you should watch her channel. She had a video where she was comparing two different reading planners at the end of 2019. This one and then the other one, I don't even know because I didn't care because I didn't get it. I like this one better. So I got this because she recommended it. Well, she didn't recommend it, but she talked about it and I thought it would be really cool. And I've never had a proper reading planner before. So I just wanted to show it to you, which is why it was very irritating when this memory card died several times. So it's kind of cool. So it's got a cover page. It might be ineffective, but it's got a cover page. And then it has, you've seen this, the iconic bookshelf planner spread, whatever. And then it has a page. I'll show you a blank one. It's got a monthly page where you can put all your monthly like you can track your monthly reading, and it's undated, so you can write the dates of the week, whether you start on a Monday or a Sunday, and write in all the numbers and stuff. So what I decided to do is that instead of writing things in each of the cells for the days of the week, I would just use washi tape and run the washi tape along each of the days that I read a book so that it shows what I read. So the first pattern of the washi tape is unraveling, and the second washi tape is for when the days that I read Talk Like a Man. And then there's this little sliver of space on the side over here where you can write down your notes. And then after that, it's got a page for your book wish list, and then it's got a page for your monthly TBR, and and then it's got like favorite quotes and stuff. And I haven't finished because I haven't done my actual review yet, but what I did was I copied the cover of both of the books, The Unraveling and Nisi Shawl's Talk Like a Man, on adhesive paper, which has become my newest obsession, right? I'm always making stickers now. And I'm gonna put in my favorite quotes there. And then it also has a planner for your monthly wrap up. So yeah, so that is, and I didn't, well, I can use it as a guide. So total books read 2, genres read. It's really hard sometimes with Black science fiction and fantasy because it can be so genre bending, but speculative fiction and science fiction would be Talk Like a Man. And then I think like fabulous fantasy would be, or like, yeah, fabulous fantasy I think would be The Unraveling. I'm not sure actually what it's characterized as being. Maybe fantasy, maybe science fiction, but I don't think it would be science fiction. I think it would be considered fantasy. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Dark fantasy, whatever. Fantasy novel. Total pages read, no clue. Favorite books. I guess out of the 2, Talk Like a Man would be the favorite. Least favorite. I mean, it's 2, right? There's no like best and worst. Books I didn't finish. We don't do that. We finish our books in these parts. And then also it has a page for notes, so that's where I put down notes from both of those books for when I finally get to the review. I'll be able to remember what I thought at the time. And then I've got February. So I've used more washi tape, as you can see, and I've also used some of the stickers that I got from Melanin Eclectic. And so that's for February. I've also jazzed up my TBR to remind myself that I'm a judge on the Booktube SFF Awards, and I have obligations in that regard. It's got weekly sections, which I've jazzed up a little bit with washi tape so I can write what I've read each day of the week. And then I've also used the extra weekly page for my Bookstagram challenge for the Read So Lit photo challenge that I'm in the process of failing. So yeah, that I'm enjoying this. We'll see if I work with this to the end of the year, and if I do, then maybe I'll have some ideas about using a reading journal on a regular basis. So do you use a reading journal? And if so, what are you using? What do you find works? What do you find doesn't work? Do you have your own reading journal? Are you thinking of creating one for yourself? Leave some comments down below, because I would love to hear more from you on that. So that is it. Thank you, I have to thank the gods of the memory cards for letting me finish this video finally. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Please give this a thumbs up. If you've watched this video all the way to the end, please leave a star so I know that you watched it. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and remember to read with purpose. I'll see you soon. Bye.